Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of December 30th, going all the way through January 5th. And what a powerful week, and what a powerful set of energies we have that are bringing in our new year. We've got the new moon happening in Capricorn straight on as we're coming into this particular week. We're going to also see that Pluto makes a connection to the nodes. We're going to see Mars opposing Pluto. You know, there are a lot of transformative energies that are available for us this week. It really sets the stage, I think, for how we're going to enter into 25, which is slowly. Things are in transition, things are in transformation, but it doesn't mean that they are the finished product just yet. We are still dealing with this Mars being retrograde, so we're really sorting out the things that have already been on our table. We're not really pushing any new things out into the water just yet. So it's a really interesting week. I look forward to walking you through, what are the challenges? What are the aspects? What's the astrology? What are the challenges, and how can you also align with it as well? Now, before we dive into the details, I'm very excited to tell you about two things. One, we've got a free summit that is coming up January 6th through the 8th. It's the Consciously Creating Summit that I'm participating in, and I would love for you to show up, bring the Grace Astrology family tribe, come over, learn, be inspired by what people are talking about. It is a group of us that came together and we talked about what does it mean to consciously create. 2025 has opened the door to different resources, access to resources that you didn't know you had before, access to resources that the world just didn't make available before, resources within yourself. There's so many resources that are available for you to consciously create what you would like to experience next. It's a beautiful free summit. I would love for you to come, start out the year right, just be nicely inspired by it. And also, because 2025 is offering us a different vibration where you can create, you've got to be in touch with your creativity. So I would love for you to come and join me in my 22-day Venus Reset program. It is a program that is all about reigniting that feminine energy, reigniting the creativity, reigniting ease and pleasure and receptivity within your own body, within your own being. It's a beautiful 22-day series. I guide you through. We meet Venus through all the different signs and bring it through the sacred pelvic bowl to look at doing some healing and some clearing through there. You're reconnecting with that creativity so that as you are creating, so that as you are saying that this is what I want to draw to me, you're clear. You are clear. This is what I really want. This is what I really want to call to me this year. And I want to do it in a way that is a lot easier and lets me take advantage and be open to these different resources that are available. So both of the links are in the description box down below to take advantage of those things. So please jump down there and let's just take it easy. Let's create something beautiful as we're heading into 2025. Friends, let's talk about what's going on Monday. So first of all, we're coming in on Monday with the new moon happening at 9 degrees of Capricorn. And if you're not sure how to find that 9 degrees of Capricorn in your chart, make sure that you click to the end of my video because I'm going to put another video to show you how to find the active transit in your chart. The best astrology that I can offer you is your astrology. So make sure you check that out and make this week's reading and all of the general readings really personal to you as well. But we've got this new moon happening at 9 degrees of Capricorn. It is in beautiful harmony with its ruling planet Saturn. So one of the things we know we've got here is, first of all, a new moon, an opportunity to plant your seeds of intention to build something. And you'll likely build this thing over the next 2.5 years. Very Capricorn style as well, right? It's going to be something that takes long-term discipline, long-term investment to grow it or to build it. But also, Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So you're committing at this new moon just to make a start, make a beginning, start to see the truth of what's going on around you and pick a pathway forward and set that pathway with practical steps in order to get to the desired outcome. So what is it for you in the Capricorn area of your chart? Do you need to be more disciplined with something? Is it a space where that nice combination of Saturn coming in is making it so it's easier to tell the truth or to see the truth about a certain circumstance or situation in your life. And then you're like, okay, I can see the truth of it. I'm willing to commit a path forward. For example, Let's say that you have been just carrying the weight of financial uncertainty, or you're feeling stuck in your career. I'm feeling stuck in my marriage, something like that, right? As we're having this lunation offers you an opportunity to take an honest, grounded, not super emotional view of what's going on, what's happening in your situation, what have been your behaviors that have participated in getting this to play out in the Capricorn material world. And then from that truth, you can map out a plan and a pathway to move forward. And again, at this new moon, maybe you don't solve it all, by Tuesday. It can be the time here where you're just planting these seeds of intention and you're committing to taking small practical steps to actually get to that long-term goal that you want to see achieved at the end. And the thing that I like about this lunation as well is to remember that yes, we may be planting our seeds of intention because you say, I would like to have this outcome over here, right? I've had so much financial uncertainty and I want to be more financially certain on this time. All of this space in the middle, in this next 2.5 years, in every month that you're putting effort in here, this is a space where you are growing, you are changing, you are becoming the version of you that's happy in your marriage, happy with the work that you do, more financially secure. You have learned to research what you need to do if you have a different kind of mindset that's not going to be supportive of being financially secure. Maybe you've even taken a training or something like that because you realize that will help you advance your money in your life. Whatever it is, we're planting our seeds of intention here. Capricorn gives us a lot of emphasis on that long-term stability and your ability to take on the responsibility because you want to, not because you necessarily are being forced to. I think it's a really lovely energy. Now, just behind that on the same day, we're going to see Pluto, another very powerful energy shifted over here into the vibration of Aquarius. But Pluto is going to come into a trine with that south node and come into a sextile with the north node. Anytime the nodes get involved, these become destiny or karmic points, karmic changes, karmic times that show up in our lives. Now, with Pluto in a trine to the south node, it's easier to see what's been going on, especially in terms of a relationship or a relating dynamic in some way, why the behaviors, the fears, the insecurities, the whatever's been happening over here, why it's not sustainable anymore, why it needs to be innovated. And typically we are finding out that this needs to be innovated not only because it's out of balance, but because we find out through pain, right? I would love for that not to be true, but we find out through pain, this is hurting me, it's causing me stress, I'm staying up late, I feel like I'm going to burst if I don't step forward and share this particular part of my story, something like that. Pluto has gotten our attention to say, you have to innovate that, that's not going to work, and the way you're doing it. But it makes it easier to go, oh, okay, I can confront this pattern in my relating and relationships. It's not so bad. I see it. Now, the sextile to the north node is the part I think we can also really lean into, because this is the courage to change the things that you can and the wisdom to know the difference, right? Okay? Because I think Pluto's over here being the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, because it is we cannot make other people change. That's kind of a benefit of free will. So as we see the sextile over here, though, to this north node, I think that it is brilliant, because the sextile creates a pocket of opportunity where you're going to intelligently take action. You're informed now, and you're going, okay, here's where the direction I need to go. Here's why. Here's the habit. Here's the behavior. that got me in the position to have this imbalance, right? Have I been staying with a particular partner or engaging in a dynamic with my partner that actually comes from something from childhood? And I get it. I see it today. I'm not afraid of that anymore, Pluto. It's okay for me to surrender it. Either way, although this is a softer and I think really transformative destiny meetup, it is one of confrontation. Pluto wants the confrontation here. We have to see it. We have to think differently of it, and we need to release. Pluto wants the death and the destruction of it. Now, to the other side of this, because I really don't want us to just think that Pluto is the bad guy all the time, and none of the planets are good or bad. They just are. But Pluto here also can make you go, I've been really afraid of being seen. And I have an old story from childhood. I have an old story that my sister used to say to me, and it made me feel afraid of being seen. And now today, I can let that relationship with that story go, and I can step up and step out and be seen because I am empowered. Right? I am empowered. I'm freer from the opinion of other people, and I can step forward and just do and be who I am, especially if it means, and even if it means, you are differentiating yourself from another group of people. My family used to think this or believe this, or my friendship group used to think this or believe this, and I don't necessarily believe that as who I am today. It's okay for me to go this other direction and start a new narrative. It's a really powerful energy, actually. Now, as we're going to come into Tuesday, we see that Mercury is in a trine to Chiron, and this is that heart-to-heart conversation, right? This is a place where Mercury, being our planet of communication, right? We're giving and we're sharing information, we're retaining stories, memories, these kinds of things, but also Chiron, just having been fresh out of retrograde, having this renewed perspective of the self and the identity and who you are. This combination of these two energies is a great place to have a heart-to-heart conversation if it's time to have a heart-to-heart conversation. So one of the things I think about here is if you've been avoiding having a conversation, making a phone call, particularly have you been avoiding a conversation with maybe a family member about something? Maybe even Chiron is involved here, even though it's a trine. Was there something or someone who hurt you deeply? Whether they really did or it is perception, right? In your head, they said the thing, whether they said it or not. This is a day under this aspect where you're encouraged, I think, here to move with a bit of vulnerability, but with your shoulders back and your chest up as well, to engage the conversation. But we're not engaging the conversation on this day like, hey, let's talk about 1992. It's not this forceful coming at it. Instead, I think what happens in this conversation or is available is that you're able to enter it, at least enter it, without the blame, with more vulnerability, like something about your old identity has been healed a little bit more, and now you can have this conversation. Perhaps it's a space where you can also acknowledge your part in what happened in this situation. You can acknowledge your pain. You have a willingness, though, to also see their portion, because ultimately what you would like maybe is peace. And on a very personal level, I do think that Mercury, Chiron here, because it's a trine, it's an ease of energy, there's a lot of clarity. There's a lot of personal clarity and healing that can come in. So it's a day where I would say, even if you can't talk to someone, if you felt like you needed to write that letter to your dad, or you felt like you need to write that letter to a child, to a friend, to someone that you feel like you're never going to see again, or maybe you will not see in this realm again, this is a great energy to do that, because it's a space of also being able, through your word magic, to process out any lingering wounds that may be showing up here. Now, we're going to see that the moon is also going to shift into void, of course, and before it goes into void, of course, it's going to make a connection, it's going to make a sextile sextile with Neptune. Moon Neptune energy, first of all, it's coming towards void, of course. So this is very much so a winding down energy. But I do think as we're getting to this particular point and getting ready to head into the first of 2025, it's again an energy here that even at an emotional level is a cue to slow down and move in forgiveness, move in compassion, move in possibilities, right? Yes, what if? Could it be possible? My spiritual teacher, when she's trying to say something to me and I'm really not listening, she'll say, I'd like to offer up for your consideration. Now, she's been doing it for years, so I know that she's now telling me you're not actually listening. Or, it's so, offer for your consideration as the moon is traveling void of course at this particular time. What could the possibility be? Who could you be? If you weren't carrying that grudge, who could you be if you were sober? Who could you be if you played that song, made that music, went and spent more time with a person at the elderly home? Who could you be if you donated that breast milk to the NICU, right? Like, who could you be in all of the possibilities that can help you heal, can help you be free, help you have compassion and come from a spiritual space. Now, as we get to Wednesday, first of all, Happy New Year. Happy 2025 on the calendar. In astrology world, we're not actually beginning the new year again until March, but we're here, y'all. We made it to the calendar dot of 2025. So absolutely happy new year. Okay, now as we're coming into this new year, we're coming in now with the moon ready to shift into the vibration of Aquarius. And I just thought to myself, oh, if that does not line up with 2025, I do not know what does, right? Because we know that the moon's going to be coming in conjunction here also with Pluto. This is a changeable year. So as you're coming into 2025, I would encourage you to think about the past year. Really think about the past year and think about where you have felt isolated. Think about where you felt maybe misunderstood in some way. The Aquarian moon is this opportunity to innovate and to encourage you to get outside of your comfort zone to find the connection. Maybe there are more people who believe as you believe, who have the same like-minded ideas that you do. And under this small little conjunction and connection with the moon moving here from the inside out, you're ready to say, okay, I'm going to make a commitment to seek out communities of like-minded people who share my ideas and ideals so that I don't have to feel separate from anymore. Because for every outsider, there's another outsider, promise. And this can be as deep as something political for yourself. This can be something creative. I had a beautiful conversation with a client who did a particular profession her entire life. Now she does something completely different. It's so artsy. The people in her past profession are like, we don't completely get it. But now there's a community of people who do this artsy thing with her, and it's this new exploration. So there's also, I think, at an emotional level, the embracing of your uniqueness, right? This is me today. This is who I am now. Yes, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, the story from my youth was this, but when I get stopped and clear for a minute, this is who I am today, and this is what I believe, and that's enough. Now I just need a place of collective space where I can align with others so that isolation and detachment that says things like they're all messed up, they are dumb, they don't have the right ideas, that can be toned down, because that can be the kind of detachment that moon can bring in, and that is going to make you stay separate and by yourself, and that's not a good thing for human beings. Okay, now as we have sorted all that out and we move to the second, first of all, we see Venus entering into the vibration of Pisces. I think that this is a lovely energy. I really do, because it's funny, as Venus starts to travel through the vibration of Pisces, it's like things are just intensified, Venus is attracting, it's calling in. So now you're calling in art, you're calling in beauty, you're calling in pleasure, you're calling in an idea, an ideal, you're calling in forgiveness of the self. We're calling in into our relationship dynamics, forgiveness, compassion, creativity. We want a bit more spiritual connection in this energy. You know, I feel like it's Venus in Pisces is just, it invites a spirit of unconditional love, unconditional respect, and unconditional connection, because it knows that the bonds here can be deeper than just what the eye sees. Now, I do want to speak to this. I think that there are some challenges that come with Venus being in Pisces as well, even though I absolutely love this particular position. The ability to overly idealize something or someone is high during this particular transit, and it can lead to some real disappointment. It can, you know, I idealize this person, I idealize this situation, and it's almost like a space in Pisces where we forget that there are humans attached to that spirit, right? Like that spirit, that soul is having a human experience. So they're going to be very fallible. And so this can put us in a position to be disappointed. Instead, I would encourage, as we're experiencing this transit, to realize it's a beautiful time for forgiveness. I had a situation the other day with my husband where something I hadn't thought of for years, you guys, came up. And where I'm at today in my life and in my mentality was, I was like, I have to start at forgiving myself before I can even pick a pathway forward. Because trying to just say, okay, I see the truth of it and move forward, this element that is very Piscean, I think, of shame was there, and it almost felt like bricks on my feet, right? Like trying to lift up my legs. But in the space of forgiveness first, nurture that I did the best that I could at the time. I really genuinely did. It's not a passing off, escaping motto, throwing it out there, right? From the position of forgiveness first, I could go, okay, here's what needs to happen next in order for me to change and to build a genuine connection in this marriage, right? This is what has to be changed in me, but I forgive me first in order to be able to get that done. So, if that rings a bell or relates to anything that you have experienced, I think that this is a definite experience of that. One thing else I want to say here is that because there's so much forgiveness, I want to use the word out loud, resentment. If you've been holding on to a resentment, and resentment doesn't necessarily mean that we're angry. I've been taught that a resentment is anything that I resend so I can feel it over and over and over again, because it's giving me some kind of power, right? I'm getting something from it. So if there's something that is a resentment and it's not true power, it's not true spiritual connection, it's not true peace, these kinds of things, this is a great time to forgive it. This is a great time during this transit to look at compassion. Why do you need that? What is that? Why is that still happening there? What are you really looking for? A great example of this as well is this unrequited love. Oh, listen, I have Pisces at the descendant, the unrequited love story, right? And one of the things that we can look at is, okay, what is in the unrequited love story? Most of the time, it's me looking for that part of me to be expressed again, but putting the weight on someone else to make it happen for me. I need to assign it to something outside of myself. So where do I forgive myself? Where do I look at myself through a beautiful lens of compassion and go, yeah, you're human. We do this kinds of stuff, and allow that to process out, allow myself to grow out of whatever the story, whatever the resentment, whatever the thing is that I continue to resend. Okay, behind that, the moon is going to go void of course here, but it's going to square against Uranus before it does that. So, okay, this is going to be at 9:12 p.m. Mountain Time, Colorado time. So something you can think of here is, if you've been sticking to a really rigid plan or something lately, right? Like we had the moon come through Capricorn, and we have that very Saturnian container to build something, the solid practical steps, all of these things. But if you've been doing something and it's just been too emotionally rigid, or you're like, this is all there is, this is a time where just before the moon goes void, of course, you might have an excellent little pop-up or an unexpected something happens that gets you to kind of change the direction of your emotional tone or focus and get you to look at something else. So I'm actually looking at this, and I think what I would say to you at the end of the day here on Thursday is be prepared, especially if it's later at night, past this 9-12 p.m. time frame, to be adaptable because Uranus is involved, and be prepared to pivot in some way. You know, whether you get an announcement in your house or we hear an announcement in the news or something like that, be just prepared emotionally to pivot. Okay, Friday brings us to January 3rd, and I can't even believe I'm saying January 3rd. You know, last week we're in 2024, and now I'm just like, oh, it's January 3rd of 2025. Can you guys even believe that? But as we're coming here, first of all, we've got Mars, who's still retrograde, and retrograde in the vibration of Leo still at this point, in that opposition to Pluto. So Friday is a big energy, and we've been here already, and we will be in this opposition again. Okay, but this time Mars is retrograde, Pluto is direct. So the action, the strategy, the desire that we had for goals and things before is actually quite different. It's opposing Pluto in Aquarius, so something new. Now, first things first, Mars is retrograde, so this can be a frustrating aspect. It can just be a frustrating aspect. So if you're feeling that the intensity of frustration to you, or to maybe even the people around you, if you're feeling like people are a bit more tense, or you're seeing the stir of power struggle, right, come up, if there are really, it's still Pluto. So if you've got a deep-seated insecurity or a fear or something like that, that is coming up or coming to the surface, or maybe it's a desire, maybe that's a better word. With this particular aspect opposing, it can get wider and wider and wider if we continue to let the energies go the two different directions. Leo is more of the me, Aquarius is more of the we. So if we keep going me, or we, sounds like the little pigs, right? This is going to create more tension, more power struggle, particularly if you're feeling like in that Mars retrograde, if you're feeling like the we is telling me what I have to do, something like that, that kind of dynamic, man, it can really pull and it can be tense, and the power dynamics can be literally shocking, okay, because it can be so frustrating. However, with every opposition, we have an opportunity to try to find the sweet spot in the middle. Where is what the we, right, or the Aquarius side of your chart saying? Where does it have some elements of truth? Okay, it's just true. 2 steps towards Mars. Where is what you want or what you're trying to do or what you desire true? Okay, let's take 2 steps towards Pluto, right? So we're trying to get them to have some kind of integration, because there's no we without the me, and the me will not survive without a we either. So this is a place where what I would say is, first of all, avoid reactive behaviors. If you can do it, avoid the really reactive, impulsive behaviors that can come with Mars, especially Mars being in a fire. Find a creative constructive outlet for any excess energies that are plopping themselves up, right? I would love to see you be incredibly productive with that. But also, if you can't, where you may have some real benefit to work with this is to look at where it is that you're doing something and you just need a different strategy to go about doing it. That's all, right? Because here's a great example. Let's say you've been doing something at work or in your household and you feel like what you're doing is unseen or it's unappreciated. This is a time to look at, first of all, okay, what is the strategy or the approach that I'm going for, right? Also, internally, Pluto bringing up some insecurity. Why do I need them to be making me feel good, right? Is this is this a soul lesson or is this an ego lesson? Sometimes those are really challenging to sort our way through, right? But if you're saying, okay, I need to reevaluate my approach, and maybe my approach is even going to be, I need to say I'm feeling unappreciated, right? But whatever it is, this is an opportunity to look at where you can just reevaluate the approach instead of, I'm going to confront my boss. I'm coming straight up. I'm coming straight in. We're going to, right, have this whole conversation, or I'm going to confront my spouse, right? Instead, if there is going to be a confrontation, make sure you're bringing some kind of good, productive strategy as to what's next that can help the cause. And I think that helps that integrate just a little bit. Now, the tone comes down a bit as we get to the end of the day. Not a lot, but it does come down a little bit as the moon transitions into that vibration of Pisces, okay? So if the day has felt overwhelming, if the global energy, Pluto is still in Aquarius, has felt overwhelming, let it come down. Let it transition out. What don't you need to keep? Forgive things. Let them go. Create, dance, sing. Push that energy out of your body. Look at where you need to surrender to win. Is that yours really to still be carrying around right now? Put on something soothing. Maybe tonight we are not watching the K-dramas. Maybe tonight we're going to turn on the fish on the TV in the living room, let the nature sounds fill the house, right? What can you do with the moon and Pisces here to create some kind of soothing space so that not only your emotional life, but also your external, where you're resting and nurturing yourself space can be something that is really soothing to you, soothing to your emotional nature, and also inspiring you to get up and do another day as a soul in a human experience. Okay, Saturday brings us to the sun in a sextile with Saturn. Because it's a sextile, we know that this is a pocket of opportunity where you will intelligently take action. And the action, I think, would be great. Here's my example for you. If you've been saying to yourself, I really want to save money, I want to have a different financial life, right? I really want to save money under this aspect, this would be a great day to review the seeds of intention that you planted at that new moon that happened just earlier in the week and sit down and make a plan, make a very realistic budget, make a plan on how you're going to check in and make sure you're hitting some milestones along the way so that you stick to it. This aspect supports anything that is about your discipline, is about the structure, is about helping you not only get it done, I think, but be a lot more confident in carrying out the task as well. Now, as we're going to end the week on Sunday, we've got the moon here. Yeah, before it's going to get into the space of Aries, we see the moon. Yeah, okay, it's going to make a little conjunction to Neptune. And then it'll come down, and we'll see later in the day that the moon is actually going to shift into the vibration of Aries. Okay, so as the moon shifts into this vibration of Aries, first of all, we have the moon in fire. Okay, so we get some of this energy back. It's like, yes, 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 let's get the energy moving, right? So it does give us at the end of the week, heading into the beginning of the week, a little bit more oomph and a little bit more fire to move in. But we do need to remember that Mars is still retrograde. So even emotionally, if you're feeling fired up, you're feeling good about the strategy and the goals that you've set out, trying to launch them forward and take these brand new actions may feel very slow. You may feel a bit uncertain. You may be like, yes, I've set up this debt plan and I reached out to this attorney, or I've reached out to the marriage counselor, or I reached out to the producer or the videographer to help me do the whatever, and they haven't gotten back to me. And this can still be a little bit emotionally frustrating. So keeping that in mind, first of all, just look at the moons in Aries, do a check-in, have something spicy to eat, enjoy that, enjoy the heat, enjoy your courage, build your courage, watch yourself all day, Sunday going into Monday, do things. be growing into this next version of yourself that wants the outcome that you asked for at the beginning of the week, right? You know, whether it's organizing your closet because you said, I'm going to tell the truth about these clothes, they don't actually fit me, and I'm not trying to be stressed out to get back in them, or it's creating a dish, or it's getting on the floor with your kids, and something that requires you to take initiative and demonstrate your courage to be a part of your life. I think that's a beautiful energy as the moon moves into Aries to take us through Sunday. All right, my beautiful friends, check out these videos at the end. One will show you how to find these transits in your chart because the best astrology is your astrology. And this one over here is going to help you with all of the transits that are coming up for you as we're traveling through January. And of course, if you haven't checked out your 2025 horoscopes, they are lush. They are loaded. We took care of every single department of life. So make sure you check it out, get a notebook, listen to it podcast style, and just dig in. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.